Jeff, the killer. Excerpt from local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer still at large. After weeks of unexpected murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells a story.
"I had a bad dream, and I woke up in the middle of the night," said the boy. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remembered closing it before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. After aware, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to go back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There in the ray of the light, illustrated from being my curtain, was part of two eyes. These were they weren't regular eyes. They were dark, ominous eyes. They were born in black. They were bordered in black, and they placed out terror. That's when I saw his mouth, a long, horrific smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said to me a simple phrase, but he said it in a way only a madman could say. "Go to sleep." I let out a scream. That's when he sent at me. He pulled out a knife, aimed at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him. I kicked, I punched, I rolled over, trying to knock him off me. That is when my dad burst in. The man threw the knife into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't already alerted the police. They drove him to the park, and running towards the door, the man ran down the hallway. I heard a smash like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him barely into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I'll never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes and that psychotic smile. They will never leave my head. Police are on the look for this man. If you've seen anyone that fits this description in the story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved into the neighborhood, and his dad got a promotion at work, through it being best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain, though. A new, better house, what was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came up. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street with you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son." She turned around and called her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said, "Hi," and ran back to play in his yard. Well, said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter, and my two sons Jeff and Louie." They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday party. Jeff and his brother about to object when the mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family are done packing, Jeff went up to his mother. "Why did you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid." "Jeff," his mother said, we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now you're going to the party, and that's final." Jeff started to talk, but then stopped, knowing that when he couldn't do anything. Whether his mom said something when his mom said something was final, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there looking at his ceiling supportingly. He got a weird feeling. Not so much as a pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it just as a random feeling. He heard his mom calling him to get his stuff. He walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked down the stairs to get breakfast and got ready for school. As he sat there, he ate his breakfast. He once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It It gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it, and as he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then and then all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. The both of them jumped back. What the hell? The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it in one hand. The kid seemed to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wore an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. Well. Looks like we got some new meat. Supposedly, the two kids approached. One was super skinny, and the other was huge. Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce myself. Others, there is Keith. Jeff and Lou looked over at the skinny kid. He was dopey faced like that you would expect a sidekick to have. And he's Troy. They looked over at the fat kid. Talk about a tubble lord. This kid looked like he hasn't exercised since he was crawling. And I, said the first kid, am Randy. Now for all the kids in the neighborhood, there's a small price for bus fare, if you catch my drift. Lou stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes when one of the friends pulled a knife on him. Tisk, 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 tisk. I would hope you'd be more cooperative, but it seems we must do it the hard way. The kid walked up to Lou and took his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got that weird feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Lou gently him to sit down. Gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet, or else. Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. Oh, and what will you do? Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. Randy screamed, and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed out at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even have to need the knife. He punched Troy straight in the stomach, and Troy went down. As he fell, he puked all over. Louis could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. Jeff, how did you... That was all he said. Then saw the bus coming and knew that they were going to get blamed for the whole thing. So they started running as fast as they could. As they were running, they looked back and saw the bus driver rush over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Lou made it to school, they didn't dare tell anyone and tell what happened, as all they did was sit and listen. Lou just thought it was just as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got the feeling, as that feeling, he felt how powerful it was. The urgency just to hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help it. Feel happy. It felt like the straight feeling go away and stay away for the entire day at school. Even as he walked home due to the whole thing, he neared the bus stop and how no, he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore. He felt happy. When he got home, his house parents asked him how his day was. He said in somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." The next morning, he heard a knock at the front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at the door. His mother looked back at him with an angry look. Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't a regular fight, that they were stabbed. Stabbed, son. Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother it was true. Mom, they were the ones that pulled the knives on me and Lou. Son, said one of the cops, we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 with a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now what does that tell us? Jeff knew it was no use. He couldn't say him or Lou had been attacked, but was no proof it would not that they were who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing because they, truth be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend him or Lou. Son, call down your brother. Jeff couldn't do it, since it was him that beat up those kids. Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up those kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me. The cop looked at his parents and they both nodded. Well, kid, looks like a year in juvie. Wait, said Lou. They all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officer pulled their guns and locked them on him. It was me. I beat up those little punks. I had the marks to prove it. He lifted up his sleeves and revealed cuts and bruises as if he was in a struggle. Son, just put the knife down, said the officer. Louis held up the knife and dropped it onto the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. No, Lou, it was me. I did it. Jeff, with tears running down his face. Huh, poor bro, trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away. The police led Louis out to the patrol. Lou, tell them it was me. Tell them I was the one who beat up those kids. Jeff's mother put her hand on his shoulder. Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it was Lou. You can stop. Jeff watched helplessly as the cop car sped off with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled up into the driver's seat, seeing Jeff's face and noticing something was wrong. Son, what is it? Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Inside, Jeff's mom walked his father inside to break the news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or two so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing his parents were both shocked and sad and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't even see how they thought of Lou when it was his fault. He just went to sleep, just getting the whole thing out of his mind. 2 days went by, no word from Lou at JDC, no friends to hang out with, nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff woke up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face. Jeff, it's the day, she said as opening up the curtains and letting light flow into the room. What's today? Asked Jeff as a stern awake. It's Billy's party. He was now fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after... There was a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past few days. Now get dressed. Jeff's mom walked out the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He found himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and a pair of jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up. His mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought, why would they even wear such a fancy clothes to a kid's party? Son, is that what you're gonna wear? Said Jeff's mother. Better than wearing too much, he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. No, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you want to go if you want to make an impression, said Jeff's father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yelled downstairs. Just pick out something, calling his mother. He looked around his closet for what you could call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it though. He looked around and found only stripe and pattern shirts, now of which go with dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on. "You're wearing that?" they both said. His mom looked at her watch. "Oh, no time to change, just let's go," she said as she herded Jeff and her father out the door. They crowded the street over Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door and appeared that Barbara, just like the parents, way overdressed. As they walked inside, as Jeff could see were adults, no kids. "Oh, the kids are out in the yard. Jeff, how about you go and meet some of them?" said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around wearing cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well have been staring in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, as kids came up to him and handed him a toy gun and hat. "Hey, wanna play?" he said. No, kid. I'm way too old for this kind of stuff." The kid looked at him with a weird puppy dog eyes. "Please," said the kid. "Fine," Jeff said. He put on the hat and stared to pretend shoot at the kids. At first he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he started to actually have fun. It might not be a super cool, but it was the first time he had done something to take the mind off Lou. So he played with the kids for a while, until he heard a noise, a weird rolling noise. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith jumped all over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred. "Hello, Jeff, is it? We have some unfinished business." Jeff saw his bruised nose. "I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you and you got my brother sent to JDC. Randy just got angry, a look in his eye. "Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our butts, but that's that one day, but not today." As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground and punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off him, and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming, and parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled out gun out of their pockets. No one intervenes or guts will fly," they said. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed him into the shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabbed his foot and twisted it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked to the back door. Troy grabbed him. "Need some help?" the back of the collar and threw him through the patio door. As Jeff tried to stand, he is kicking down the ground. Randy replied as starting kicking Jeff until he started to cough up blood. "Come on, Jeff, fight me!" He picked up Jeff and threw him into the kitchen. Randy seen a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashed the glass over Jeff's head. "Fight me!" He threw Jeff back into the living room. "Come on, Jeff, look at me." Jeff glanced up, his face rippling with blood. "I was the one that got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're going to sit there and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed." Jeff started to get up. "Oh, finally, you stand and fight." Jeff is now on his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again, he gets that strong feeling, the one in which he hasn't felt for a while. "Finally, he's up," said Randy as he ran at Jeff. That's when it happened. Something inside Jeff snapped. His psychotic is destroyed. All Randy all rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy. A pile drives him into the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him. He punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. As Randy gasps for breath, Jeff hammers down on him, and punch after punch, blood gushing from Randy's body until he takes a final breath and dies. Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith, although easily breaking from their gaze, point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let fire out on him, each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith falling behind him. As he let him out there, final round of bullets, Jeff ducked into the bathroom. He grabbed the towel rack and ripped it off the wall. Troy and Keith ran in, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, but who backs away, and bang, the towel rack into Troy's head. Troy goes down hard, and now all there left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He drops the knife and grabs Jeff by the neck. He pushes him into the wall. A thing of bleach falls down on top of him from the top shelf. It burns both of them, and they both start to scream. Jeff wipes his eyes, and best as he could, he pulled back the towel rack and swung straight into Keith's head. As he laid there bleeding to death, he let out a ominous smile. "What's so funny?" asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. "What's funny," he said, "is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol." Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw his lighter on him. As soon as the flames make contact with him, the flame ignites the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burns him, the bleach bleaches his skin. Jeff lets out a terrifying scream as he catches on fire. He tries to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The hall made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everyone started to scream as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and other parents trying to extinguish the flame. That's when he passed out. When Jeff woke up, he had a case wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a case on his shoulders and stick all around his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was a tube in his arm, and when he tried to get up, it fell out. A nurse rushed in. "I don't think you can get out of bed just yet," she said as she put him back into bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, but no idea what his surgery were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mom. "Honey, are you okay?" she asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered and he unable to speak. "Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed of trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go. This made Jeff bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm. "He'll be out tomorrow, and then you two be able to together again. And the two of you will be together again." Jeff's mom hugged Jeff and said goodbye. The next couple of weeks Jeff was visited by his family. They came that the day bandages were to be removed. His family all were there to see what he would look like. As the doctor unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seat. They were waiting until the last bandage holding the cover over his face was almost removed. "Let's hope for the best," said the doctor. He quickly pulled out the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screamed as a sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad stared in shock at his face. What happened to my face?" Jeff said. He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror instant and saw the cause of his distress. His face, it was horrible. His lips were burned to a deep shade of red. His face turned into a pearl of white, a pure white, and his hair singeing from brown to black. He slowly put his hand on his face. It was sort of leather feeling to it now. He looked back at his family and then back at the mirror. "Jeff," said Lou, "it's not that bad." "Not that bad," said Jeff. "It's perfect." His families were equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff, are you okay?" "Okay? I've never felt more happy." "Look at me. This face goes perfectly with me." He couldn't stop laughing. He strung his face. "Caused this? Well, you may recall that Jeff was fighting Randy in his mind. He's Stanley, the sudden snap machine. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know. "Doctor," said Jeff's mom, "is my son alright, in the head?" "Oh yes, behavior is typical for patients that are trying very large amount of painkillers. If the behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here and we'll give him some psychological tests." "Oh, thank you, doctor." Jeff's mom went over to Jeff. "Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go." Jeff looked away from the mirror. His face still formed into a crazy smile. "Okay, mommy." His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. "This is what he came in," said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down into see the black dress and white hoodie from his son wore. Now they were clean of blood and were sewn together. Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put on his clothes. Then they left, not knowing that was their final day of life. Later that night, Jeff's mom woke up to a sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it is. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrid sight. Jeff taking a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. "Jeff, what are you doing?" asked his mom. Jeff looked over at his mom. I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever." Jeff's mother noticed his eyes ringed in black. "Jeff, your eyes!" His eyes were seemingly never closing. I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned the eyelids out so I can forever see myself, my new face." Jeff's mom slowly started to back away, seeing that her son was going insane. "What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful?" "Yes, son," she said. "Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy so he can see what you did to your face." She ran into a room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. "Honey, get the gun." She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway, holding a knife. "Mommy, you lied." That was the last thing they heard as Jeff rushed them with the knife, gutting both of them. His brother Lou woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got a strange feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up. Before Jeff's hand covered his mouth, he slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Louis. Louis thrust her, and they tried to escape Jeff's grip. "Shh," Jeff said. "Just go to sleep."